Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
And also here, writer-director John Schnepp.
Hello there. I had a great time this weekend at Monsterpalooza and C4. Thanks for everybody for coming out.
And also here, AMC's very own Miri Jetikin.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Well, folks, sometimes, as happens, we write the show notes in the morning and then something significant happens right before the show starts. And literally just a couple of minutes ago, the first real full trailer for The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 dropped. And we literally just sat here and watched it like 3 minutes ago for the first time. So, Miri, let's start with you. You saw this Hunger Games trailer first time. First impressions.
First impressions is that Katniss is a badass. She's a badder ass, and she keeps getting badder and badder ass. I think it looked really epic. It was really sweeping and some amazing set pieces. I think the story is obviously reaching its crescendo. We're heading into the final stages. I just wish this was one movie. And I didn't read the book, so I can't comment on whether or not splitting them into two has been a good decision or not. I know a lot of people have debated about this. But I really like the look of the trailer. I like that it's darker and we're seeing, you know, the calamities of what's been going on, and I don't know. I'm excited for it. It made me want to see the movie, so that's good.
Schnepp, what do you think about it?
Well, they have to have part 2 so she could be baddest ass.
Yes.
So it can't be, she's just badder ass right now. It has to be the part 2.
It should be the baddest ass.
end.
It should just be called the Mockingjay Part 2, Baddest Ass.
Yeah, I'd see that. I thought the trailer was great. It had a lot of action. It really, I haven't read the books, so for me it's really fun to see where this is going to go. Yeah. And I thought it was great. It looks really well directed too. I know there was a lot of issues with Philip Seymour Hoffman, so it was nice to see him in there. And I'm sure everything's going to be great. It looks like a fun film.
I liked the trailer. I did. I mean, I thought Hunger Games the second Hunger Games film was so good. I mean, it was so surprisingly good. And it addressed one of my main concerns from the first Hunger Games film, which is the first Hunger Games film felt very small. Like, it was good. I enjoyed the first Hunger Games film. I did. I liked it. But it felt small in scale. It didn't feel global to me. It didn't feel like this is a countryside-wide sort of thing. Second one did. The scope felt much grander. And now we go into this third film, and at least from the trailers, it looks like they're even getting broader. The conflict looked real. It looked like something serious. I'm not a big fan of the final book of the Hunger Games. I thought it was actually kind of sloppily written. I didn't like the character development and all that kind of stuff. But they are making some changes in the movie, and it looks like they're making some pretty decent changes too. So I gotta say, I thought the trailer looked pretty good. So I was already excited about it because of the last film. Now I'm even a little bit more excited.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, let's go into the first official topic today.
Alrighty. The Toronto International Film Festival has awarded its top prize to the upcoming Benedict Cumberbatch film, The Imitation Game. The win positions the film as one of the frontrunners for the upcoming Oscars. The synopsis for the film reads like this. Benedict Cumberbatch stars as Alan Turing, the genius British mathematician, logician, cryptologist, and computer scientist who led the charge to crack the German Enigma code that helped the Allies win World War II. Turing went on to assist with the development of computers at the University of Manchester after the war, but was prosecuted by the UK government in 1952 for homosexual acts which the country deemed illegal. John, what do you think of the Imitation Game's win?
I'm very happy for its win, as a matter of fact. I was really intrigued by this story. I remember we talked about it on AMC Movie Talk like a year ago, and just the premise of it sounded great, and then they attached an actor like Benedict Cumberbatch to it. The concept, you know what, I think people who are like 20 and under, that's something old people say, but whatever. I think people 20 and under forget how far we still have a ways to go as a culture and a society, no doubt. But I think people like 20 and under forget how far we have come in the last, like, 100 years in a lot of things. This is a story about a man who quite possibly saved his country and maybe won the war single-handedly. But because you're a guy who would rather touch his junk than her junk, we're gonna throw you in jail. We're gonna ruin your life. We're gonna attack you, and we're gonna destroy you. And I'm not trying to get into any sort of political discussion here, because wherever you fall on certain issues, whatever. But even most people I know who fall on a certain side of this political issue will say that was some horrible stuff.
Yeah.
That was some terrible, awful stuff. And so just the story of this guy alone, a guy who comes up with a way to crack these codes and the struggles he had to go through to get there, is a great movie on its own. But then you go to what happens to him afterwards too, makes it even more compelling. What is really exciting about this winning a festival like the Toronto one, because a lot of people in this industry say Toronto is the build up to the Oscars. This is what the real deal is. It is probably now it's probably the most important film festival in the world right now. But it is so nice to see a guy. We have been waiting for Benedict Cumberbatch to get his true lead role that is going to let him show off what he does. All due respect to people, fans of his Sherlock Holmes incarnation, stuff like that. Next to nobody in this continent watches it on a grand scale, which is really too bad. We've seen him in some smaller things. He was the lead in that one WikiLeaks movie that didn't do so well. But now we've got him leading in a film that looks like it has real depth, real traction, and could get a lot of awards buzz as we head into the Oscar season. This is going to be a name that we hear a lot of. So I haven't seen the film yet, but I was so excited to hear that it won Toronto because that's a pretty big indicator. And like Ashley said, it's now, for now, temporarily, it's got to be considered one of the major frontrunners for this year. I cannot wait to see it. Schnepp, what do you think about this, about winning TIFF?
I'm really happy it won, and this is one of those biopics that really is a good film to be seen, and I'm glad these kinds of films are still being made, where it's like, it shows, it reminds me of scientists when they discovered certain things about the way our galaxy works, and then we're thrown in jail for heresy. Now we're in this part where now it's just about who can you love? Who are you allowed to love? It doesn't matter if you almost saved the planet. So, that's like 40, 50 years ago. So,
yeah.
And those,
not so long ago.
Yeah, and unfortunately that kind of mentality still exists. So it has to be smashed down, and it's movies like this that will help push it over,
Amen to that. I agree with everything you guys are saying about the story itself. I do think this is Benedict Cumberbatch's chance to really kind of own a leading role, like you said. And when you were talking, I was getting goosebumps because I hope that that's the case.
Pardon the pun, but it's his coming out party.
It is, exactly. TIFF is interesting because out of the last 6 audience award winning films, which is what this film won, 5 have gone on to be nominated for Best Picture, 3 of which have won. So 12 Years a Slave, The King's Speech and Slumdog Millionaire all won Best Picture at the Oscars, and they won the audience award at TIFF. So TIFF is, to your point, becoming sort of the Oscars festival, the festival where the early frontrunners for the Oscars are going to come out. The thing that's great about this story is, for me, cryptology is so incredibly fascinating. For those of you bookworms out there, there's a book Neil Stephenson wrote called Cryptonomicon, which actually has Turing as a background.
I can't even say that.
Well, it's I don't even know if it's real.
Sounds like something from Evil Dead.
It's such a good book, though, and it really explores cryptology and what these guys did in the Second World War. So aside from the personal story, which is so compelling, what he did for a living, his day job, was so incredibly intense and cerebral, and the kind of thinking that goes into cracking these codes and figuring out these secret ways of communicating and breaking down the way, because the Germans were super smart in the way that they did all of these, I don't even know what the word is, these secret codes for communicating. And it's just, I can't wait to even see how they treat that aspect, because I've always been so interested in it, and I think it's going to be really cool. So yay!
Yeah. All right, what's next?
The weekend box office results are in, and the new Idris Elba thriller No Good Deed has taken the top spot with $24.5 million on its opening weekend. The family film sequel Dolphin Tale 2 came in at number 2, making $16.5 million. For the first time in its 7-week run, Guardians of the Galaxy dropped out of the number 2 spot, coming in 3rd place with $8 million. In the number 4 spot is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, taking in $4.8 million, and rounding out the top 5 is the comedy Let's Be Cops, making $4.3 million. Miri, any surprises for you in this weekend's box office results?
Nothing is too surprising necessarily, but I do think it's interesting that No Good Deed did so well. There was a lot of controversy around this film because they pulled all the press screenings, I think, in the weeks before, and whenever studios do that, of course, all the critics come out and say, it's gonna suck because they're not letting us see it. But whatever they thought, and they did come out and review the film, and ultimately it didn't get good reviews, but it still was a $13 million movie that made, $24.5 million at the box office, so it did really well. What I think is surprising, and I hope it gets less surprising as we go on, is the fact that, you know, this is a film that is a home invasion thriller. It's a genre film. It has nothing to do with politics, but it has an African-American cast, and it just swept the box office, proving that, you know, we need more diversity in the box office. I think it's nice to see movies that are genre films that have an African-American cast that aren't, you know, about race issues in America. It's kind of refreshing. Not to say that there aren't movies that come out, but there's a lot of like Tyler Perry, romantic comedies. It's nice to kind of see a genre thriller with Idris Elba, and it's true, the producer of this film did Obsessed as well, which also, I believe, starred Idris Elba, and also did really well at the box office. So it's kind of like, Idris Elba is amazing, and he's very handsome, and he's fun to watch, but it's also, I think, hopefully a sign of the times that we're going to have more diversity in the box office, and that'll continue to do well. So.
We had a guy from AMC head office visiting us here in LA last week, and we were talking, and I said, no good deed will make 25 million in opening weekend. I was wrong. I was off by half. I was over, actually, over by $500,000, but I came close. But there's a couple things into play here. Number one, it's Idris Elba. I mean, so I think this is a little bit of a testimony that people really like Idris Elba. So it'd be cool to see that. Secondly, I think these smaller scale thrillers. Usually you think thrillers these days, it's the world is at stake or the city will be destroyed or whatever. Story. Look, I said off air, we were talking about this movie, I said, this
movie,
if you look at the trailer, this is Home Alone for adults. This is basically like...
And some violence.
Yeah, like she's McCullen running around the house trying to stop him and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's great. I also think it's a testimony that not all films have to be $150 million films. Yeah. You can make these great 13, 20, 8, you know, $35 million films and do really, really well. Now, let's also not lose sight of the fact, before we get too excited about the success of the film, that yes, it made $24.5 million, but it opened against Dolphin Tale 2, a Guardians of the Galaxy movie in its 7th week, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in its 6th week, and the time of year. So let's keep that in, but even still, when you consider all that, this has to be considered a really good success, and I hope a harbinger of like saying, studios, look, Bloom, I forget Bloom's first name, from Blumhouse, the guy who's producing all these little horror movies. Jason Blum, thank you. He is making an industry out of making these $5 million horror films that make $75 million at the box office.
He's making a lot of money, too.
I want to see a real resurgence. Don't get me wrong, everybody knows I love my big blockbusters, but I want to see a resurgence of these $10 to $30 million films doing so well. If there's anything on this that's a surprise to me, it's how good Let's Be Cops is kind of hanging in there. It's very quietly actually made a respectable amount of money overall, despite anything. Anyway, any surprises to you, John?
No, I mean, the surprise was, that it took #1, but Idris Elba, it's exciting to see that he's a well-known actor now. I mean, since Luther, I mean, he's just such a great actor that he does deserve to be #1 when opening against Dolphin Tale 2. You know, so...
That's the third time you've said that.
Sorry, he's really handsome.
Are you here?
Yeah.
He is.
I apologize.
He's a good-looking dude.
He's just got a lot of, I don't know, star power. I think he's great. I want to see him in a lot more stuff.
I'm sure he'll be in plenty of films, believe me, especially after this one.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see, you're correct, to see a 10 to 15 million resurgence on middle-of-the-road films. And I say middle-of-the-road, I mean middle-of-the-road budget. Like, it's not 100 million, it's not 500,000. You give somebody, it's enough to actually warrant a great film. I just saw The Drop, which was a fantastic film. Not only James Gandolfini's last role, but it's a great film, and it's playing right now, so.
There you go.
A real testament about, you mentioned the star power of Idris. I think one of the things that really is a testament to that is the fact that, you know me, I don't care. I don't care that you get Michael Clark Duncan to play Kingpin. I don't care you get Samuel Jackson. I don't care you get Morpheus to play Perry White. I don't care about any of that. I really don't. But there are people who, for some good reasons and some bad reasons, don't want, any, fictional character to have their race messed with. But conversation started bubbling a few months ago about Idris Elba maybe is the new James Bond.
I would love it.
And even a lot of people I know who do not like changing whatever the race of a fictional character is, changing. So even some of them are going, that might not be so bad. That's a testament to his star power.
I would love to see that, just because aside from all the obvious barriers that it would be breaking, I just think he would be a great Bond. And I think, like you said,
he's so smooth,
that's what's important,
badass.
right? Yeah.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Buy or Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
It's been almost 3 years since the David Fincher film, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, with almost no sign of hope that a sequel, The Girl That Played with Fire, is on the way. Until now. In a recent interview, Fincher offered fans some hope that a sequel may still happen. He said the following. I think because it, Sony, already has spent millions of dollars on the rights and the script, so it will result in something. The script that we now have a huge potential. I can reveal as much as it is extremely different from the book. Jeanette, buy or sell that we'll actually ever see The Girl That Played with Fire go into production?
I sell that. I sell it hard. I don't think the only thing that Sony's done is spent a few $1 million. So that's all you'll see from it is that they spent a few $1 million and they have a great script. But yeah, it's 3 years down the road. Fincher and Sony have been arguing about budget back and forth, whether they're going to shoot it back to back, shoot one at a time. I mean, it's not going to be even worth it to shoot it in another 2 years if they don't get it together because the books are all written within a time period, you know. So unless they could completely change it, I would just watch the original ones with the subtitles, which
are so awesome,
incredible. So, I personally, that's one of those ones where it was so close to the remake, where I was like, really, why are you wasting David Fincher's time remaking a film that was already incredible, and there's already all 3 of them, and they're all on Netflix. So it's sort of one of those things where I personally would hope that David Fincher would move on to other amazing films that are awaiting his talents. So.
Mary?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and also I'm going to sell this because just because a studio spends some money on rights and a film doesn't mean they're going to continue spending money when it hasn't been a proven money maker. Which isn't to say that it wasn't successful, but I don't believe it was a very big success for the studio when it came out. And I think it's not even a matter of, well, they've already invested the money. It's like, well, I've already, bought this lemon of a car, so I'm just going to put a new engine in it when everything else doesn't work.
Right.
It's sort of like the studio might just cut their losses and move on. So that's just as likely a scenario as them saying, or even more likely a scenario than them saying, okay, let's pick it up and really work on a sequel. I think you're right. I think there's been no news of it. So I could be wrong. Maybe they're coming out with a sequel and I don't know about it. I just don't think it's likely.
I am going to regretfully also have to sell it. I don't think it's going to happen. But I am one of the few people out there. I thought that Fincher's rendition of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was better than the original one. And I really like the originals. I really do. And it had modest success. I mean, it made 200. Rooney Mara was a revelation in it, to be honest with you. And Daniel Craig was Daniel Craig. And oddly enough, the chemistry between those two was remarkably good. And, the movie was a modest success. It made over $230 million worldwide at the worldwide box office on a $70 million budget. So not a small budget, but not exactly a big budget either. But what has been the problem? I mean, it's always been between, Daniel Craig wanted more money, the studio wanted to give it to him, then there were schedules and everything. But you're right, we've heard nothing about movement. We just heard Fincher saying, I really like the script we got. That's not enough. And I think you're absolutely right, Schnepp. I think 2 years from now, I don't think the nail's in the coffin right now, but every day that passes is one more tap on that nail going in, right? And I want a sequel. I badly want a sequel.
I wanted one 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I was like,
me
let's
too.
go.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
The first trailer for the upcoming Keanu Reeves film, John Wick, has hit the web. The film is described like this. John Wick follows an ex-hitman who comes out of retirement to track down the gangsters that took everything from him, with New York City as his bullet-riddled playground. John Wick is set to hit AMC theaters on October 24th. John, buy or sell this first trailer for John Wick?
I cannot believe how hard I'm going to buy this trailer. I can't believe how hard I'm going to buy this trailer. I heard about this and it sounds so bloody generic. And it's Keanu Reeves who, look, when you put him in a very particular kind of role, like lightning in a bottle with the Matrix films, if he's the right guy for a role, he can work, but a lot of times he doesn't. And so all that going in, okay, John Wick, I'm going to watch this, and here's another kick at the can after Ronin 47. Awesome! I watched that trailer like 8 times this morning. Sitting right there. It was great. And like we've seen that retired assassin being brought back into the game, but usually it's something goes wrong, the assassin's out for revenge, and like the mob doesn't care. They're like, all right, look, you come on, we're gonna take care. But I love that little turn. As soon as the crooks brought his car into the garage, they're like, where did you get that car? It's like, they know whose car that is. It's like, you idiot! And then even the mob bosses are like, son, it's not what you did, it's who you did it to. Now we're all dead. And then the short glimpses of the action sequences look so smooth and so good. And then by near the end of the trailer when he finally says, people keep asking me if I'm back in. Yeah, I'm thinking I am. I'm like, damn! I am so in. I am this one little trailer, which could be another Phantom Menace. But this one little trailer has taken me from what new piece of crap is Keanu Reeves going to give us to, oh my God, I cannot wait to see this movie. So anyway, Schnepp, you saw it. What did you think?
I wasn't as jubilant as you are, but I did like the trailer. I thought it was a fun build-up, and it's cool that they kind of give it away in the trailer. This isn't a spoiler if you're gonna watch the trailer. The dog dies, and that's one of the cardinal rules.
Oh! Yeah, that's so you go ahead, keep going.
That's one of the cardinal rules where you don't kill the dog. The dog doesn't get killed in a movie unless you want everyone to like rise up against the theater and burn it down. You know, it's one of those things. They just do it right away. They're like, hey, they're cold-blooded people. Mess with this guy, Keanu Reeves. You don't know who he is. Dog gets killed. He's burying the dog. They took everything away from me. That dog was the last gift that my dying wife. You're like, oh man, what's happening? Then every co-star, any dude who's ever played a villain is in this movie. There's like shot after shot of different, Willem Dafoe, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, all these different guys. It's like an incredible, amazing cast who are probably all gonna go down in flames, bloody style, by a vengeful John Wick. It was exciting, and I really did like the action scenes. I watched it on a tiny iPhone, so I can't wait to see it on a really big monitor, or maybe a movie screen.
You just remind me of something like this morning, imagining, this morning, talking to my wife and watching the trailer, it's like, it's not even the car. The car isn't the issue. It's not just a dog. It's an adorable little beagle puppy. It's not just a puppy. It's the last gift his wife gave him. So watching this, and like all the bad stuff starts to happen, and it's, and when you hear the puppy squeak,
Oh God.
then and going, oh hell no.
Yep.
And then him burying it, and then. Oh, they gotta die.
Yeah.
They gotta die.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
It was so effective. So effective in the trailer. Sorry, Mary.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge animal lover, so where do I sign up for this movie? And it's funny, when you look at even the plot points of the trailer on paper, it's so outrageously cliche and ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so over the top that I almost feel like they know it and they're playing that line and they're going like, we're just gonna run all the way down the end to the end zone. Like, we're just gonna take this cliched ridiculousness and just embrace it and celebrate it and run with it. And I feel like there's this like machismo, visceral kind of almost celebratory vibe to the trailer that it knows what it is and it doesn't care. It's not apologizing for it. That's why I buy it, because I feel like they know that this has been done a million times before, but it hasn't been done exactly in this way. And that beagle is probably the cutest dog. And I have two dogs that I love dearly, but that dog, I mean, if someone killed my dog, and my dog isn't even that cute, I would.
You're opening that crypt with all the guns.
And I love exactly. And I love the fact that like they have the requisite, like he's yoked and it's the back shot and he's got his tattoo on the back.
In the shower.
I mean, that's been in The Simpsons, It's like that shot has been done so many times in so many movies that it's like the Cape Fear kind of thing, but I'm totally buying this. I want to see Keanu Reeves blow some people's heads off.
Yeah, you're right. It is there's so many redundant shots in it, but they're required redundancy in a film like this. And they're done with like I think it's a little tongue in cheek where he's like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of back. You're like, because you really do want Neo back. You really do want him to come back and do some cool action scenes.
I want him to avenge the death of that baby beagle.
Yeah.
I'm still just shocked about how much I like the trailer. Maybe tomorrow I won't feel the same way, but I'm like completely flabbergasted that I like it this much. All right, what's next?
Well, speaking of new trailers, the first trailer for the upcoming Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence film Serena has hit the web. The film marks the third film that Cooper and Lawrence have done together, following Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle. Mary Byers saw this first trailer for Serena.
I buy this, actually. I'm a fan of period films, and I think it's pretty clear they have wonderful on-screen chemistry. We've seen them in all these different kinds of ways, and they're kind of becoming this sort of like Bogey and Bacall of today.
A little bit, yeah.
They have just this incredible chemistry, and I want to see them do period. I'm curious. More than I'm excited about this movie, I'm really just curious to see what is done with it. The director is a woman named Suzanne Beale. She did Brothers, which is another sort of drama, high-stakes drama. This is drama, but it's more, obviously, it takes place at a different time. I don't know much about the film, and the trailer doesn't give away too much other than we understand that they meet, they fall in love, they get married, but she's like this real dynamo for the time, for the era, and she helps him with business, and there's intrigue and wonderful hair, finger waves.
Wonderful hair.
Wonderful. How could you not want to see it?
I'm going to just ever so barely buy it. I wasn't kind of overwhelmed by the trailer at all, but I will say that the performances in it look great. Look, we've all heard the line, "I can't lose you," in almost, I think, every film and television episode ever made, right? But I've never seen it said as perfectly and as powerfully as the way Jennifer Lawrence actually does in that line. That when she says it near the end of the trailer, "I can't lose you." It's like, it was a different way I've ever heard it said, and it hit me a certain way. And so it looks good. The cast is very strong, and they are kind of the new, also kind of the new Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, a little bit, you know, in the not so comedy world.
Yeah.
I wasn't overwhelmed with it, but I still sat back and I thought this is a pretty solid trailer, so I'm going to give it a buy.
Yeah, I'm on the teeter-totter. It's half buy, you know, almost sell, but I'm going to buy it. Because mainly the trailer didn't sell me on it. I think Bradley Cooper's a great actor. Jennifer Lawrence is an amazing actress. Them together is dynamic. They have a lot of chemistry, and it seems like I can't wait to see this movie, but please move along and get me a little bit more. All right, I get it. She's like taking over the business with him, and there's a little kickback from the guys like, hey, who's this woman, this and that. And that's all I got out of the trailer.
The trailer doesn't tell you much.
It didn't heighten, which I'm usually really happy that I didn't see all of the movie. That's one of my biggest complaints. Don't show me everything, but I guess for me, just a little bit more of the story, perhaps in the second version of the trailer, but I don't know if there will be one. It comes out in November, so.
All right, what's next?
It was announced a short time ago that Lakeshore Entertainment was looking to restart the Underworld franchise, but it wasn't clear if the new film will be a reboot or a sequel. Well, apparently the answer is sequel.
Ding, ding.
According to reports, Underworld Awakening actor Theo James, who also recently starred in Divergent, will be the focus of the new film as the vampire David. The film will also feature 2 female characters, which have yet to be cast. Jeanette, buy or sell Underworld getting another sequel?
I'm gonna tentatively buy it. I mean, I think it's a better idea to do a sequel with a new refreshment of the cast than to try to do a reboot and redo Celine. So I saw Underworld Awakenings, was very underwhelmed by it. So, you know, let's not have Underworld underwhelmed as the 5th one. You know, let's try to get a little more action, a little more refreshment. I think Underworld Awakenings was 88 minutes. Whenever you see an 88-minute call time, sometimes you're a little like, what's going on here? You know, what? So I want to see a full movie. So, you know, I'm just saying I'm going to tentatively buy it. I'm glad they're doing a sequel and not a reboot. So.
I'm going to enthusiastically sell this and sell it hard. I've said for a while that the Underworld franchise is one that I think has lots of potential. There's lots of very cool elements there, but they have never nailed it. The first one was intriguing. I kind of liked it, but I was excited about sequels because there was so much good material there that they had put into their mythology. But the films got worse and worse and worse and worse, and it was just time to reboot this. It was just time to reboot this. Look, when something keeps failing, let's not just go, how can we fail more? You know, this is already in quality. Now, granted, Underworld Awakening's made more at the box office than any of the other previous Underworld movies, because I think it's like Transformers. People still want to give it a shot. It's such a cool concept. You just want to keep going to see it. But no, it was time to reboot this. I'm really I was excited about the idea of rebooting it because of all that potential mythology. Now I'm not interested, so for me it's a sell.
Hard sell for me. I never liked the Underworld movies. I know there are people out there that are fans. This is not an offense to you guys. Everybody has their own taste. I'm with you. I feel like I just never really felt like they maximized the potential of the material that they had, and I feel like it never spoke to me. So I was actually, when I heard the news that they might be rebooting it, I was hoping, unlike you, for a reboot, because I thought, oh, you know what, let's start fresh and maybe do this over and have a second chance at a new life, and they're gonna just give us another sequel. So I'm kind of bummed about this news, so no, I sell.
All right, well, folks, we've got time for one mailbag question. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show or on AMC Mailbag, don't forget on Saturdays and Sundays we do AMC Mailbag, where all we do is take your mailbag questions. But if you want yours addressed on the show, email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So, Ashley, what do we have in the mailbag today?
Rodari O'Hara writes, could DC become more successful than Marvel after, let's say, they have released around 8 films?
Well, speaking of AMC Mailbag, this kind of came up on Mailbag this weekend, and I will say it again. It ain't going to take 8 films. I'm telling you right now, I've said this before, I will say it again, if Batman vs. Superman is awesome, like Guardians of the Galaxy level awesome, if it is awesome, you're not talking about these little characters that nobody's ever heard of before, like Guardians of the Galaxy. You're talking about the two most iconic names in superhero comic book history, Batman and Superman. Nothing else comes close. Don't care how popular Iron Man gets, don't care how popular Avengers get. You go to the shadiest corner of some Italian pub in Florence and show the Superman symbol, everybody knows who that is. These are what I call the two biggest bullets in DC's gun, and they're putting all their eggs in one basket. It's a big gamble, because you fail at this, you're going to fail hard and ruin everything.
Right.
But you knock this out of the park. Then the next film, and this is what I said on Mailbag this weekend. My measurement, my analytics for this, if you will, about measuring is, has DC caught up to Marvel? My analytics for it is this. If you said a DC movie's coming out tomorrow and a Marvel movie's coming out tomorrow, which one, just generic, which one is the average movie-going audience more excited about? Marvel, because they've earned it. They've had a great track record of success. But I am telling you right now, if Batman vs. Superman, the two most iconic superheroes in the history of the world, has this amazing Guardians of the Galaxy level quality kind of amazing film, then the next one, be it Justice League or whatever, it's going to outdo Avengers 3. It's just, people are going to look forward to now the next DC movie as much as they're looking forward to the Marvel movie. And if that's the case, if you've got two properties and everybody's now looking forward to them equal, then that you've got to say they've caught up. And so it's not going to take 8 films. It's going to take one. It's going to take one to completely make them catch up, and it's going to take one to completely ruin them, depending on how this goes, which we'll have to wait and see. But that's just the way I see it. So am I looking at it this the right way? Are there different measurements I should be going at this with?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, you're half right, half wrong. So I mean, just as far as I feel, it's like you're right that Batman vs. Superman will, if it is amazing, it'll carry over everybody who loves all like 12 of the Marvel movies that have already come out that are in their own cinematic universe, and give DC that chance now to expand their cinematic universe. But now, did I hear this right? Is Shazam not part of the DC cinematic universe? Has that been confirmed?
No, it has not been confirmed. It's all still speculation based on the comments from the Legendary guy.
I think that would be a big mistake.
Or New Line guy.
A giant mistake if Shazam isn't part of the DC cinematic universe. I think from now on, they should learn their lesson from Marvel, and all the movies should be tied together so that you can have a DC universe. This kind of stuff where everything's separate, it's too fragmentary. So, I mean, I feel like, yes, if DC, the Batman vs. Superman is a giant hit, it does level the playing field, but then it's up to DC to come out with the next 2 or 3 movies that are just as good.
Right.
So once they level up, they got to stay on that level. So
I think having Shazam in his own universe would be a stroke of genius. But
Really?
that's just me, yeah.
I agree with you very much. I think that it's definitely possible. I think it's likely, if the movie, like you're saying, is going to be the huge success that I hope it is. I hope I love it as much as I think I might. You're right. I think these characters transcend comic books. They're icons, and people, like you said, all over the world know who they are. If this can bring this entirely new generation these heroes in a way that they have been packaged and brought to generations before them in ways that have wowed those audiences, but now we're doing this in the 21st century, I think it's huge. I think it'll blow the doors off of everything. I hope that it does, because it's, from the sounds of everything that's coming out of the production right now of Superman v. Batman, it sounds like it's going to be good, and I think everybody's hoping for it. And you also have that. You have a lot of fans that are really rooting for this film. I know there's a lot of haters out there, but there's also a lot of people that really just want this to be good. So you have a lot of goodwill on the part of the audience that are willing to come out and give it a shot. And I think it's definitely possible. And I think you're right. I don't think it necessarily needs 8 films. If this one isn't a huge critical success, then they might need 8 films. But who knows? It's just a number, right? I mean, could take 3.
And that's the risk with putting all your eggs in one basket. If they don't do well on this, I think it's
Yeah.
going to do more than take 8 films. I think
Yeah.
they've ruined themselves. I think they just got to start from scratch again.
who is the judge in Batman v Superman? Because it's obviously a 2-hour courtroom drama. Who is going to be the kunk?
Maybe it's Wonder Woman.
That's right.
Maybe it's Wonder Woman.
got a gavel.
All right, folks. Now, normally we would take some live questions, but we have run over time today, so we're just going to cut it at that. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of solid films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, your showtime, and of course your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to click the thumbs up button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, to my immediate right, Miss Miri Jetikin. Miri, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Miri the Jedi on Twitter and Instagram.
And of course, the one and the only Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
Twitter, Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
Happy Monday. And of course, you can find me on all the various social media networks at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name is John Campea for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.